7 years ago, I wanted to build a 4-seater go-kart, and I'd never built a frame in my entire life. I had barely used a welder, probably welding 2 or 3 things before this frame. So me, my friends, and my wife, we went after building this full 4-seater chassis for some foster kids that my mom was fostering. So with just an angle grinder, a 110 Lincoln welder, and a drill, we built this entire go-kart from scratch. Again, I had never built anything, and you guys got to watch this from the very start to the very finish of this go-kart, and watch it come to reality. When it was all done, we bedlined it, and we ended up giving it to the foster kids on Christmas Day, and they absolutely loved it, putting a ton of hours on this machine. Unfortunately, after a while, the air filter started to deteriorate, and a lot of dust got sucked into the engine, a lot of dirt, and it ended up blowing up the engine. So now we have it back here at the shop. We're going to do a full revive on this 4-seater go-kart we built so many years ago. We're also going to look over how good did I build it, knowing what I know now. How many things would I change? And so let's revive this 4-seater go-kart, one of the biggest staples on our channel. It was the first thing we ever tried to accomplish, and it was a success, and it was such a good feeling to be able to see this thing get put to use and be such a good unit, seeing that I had never built nothing. So a big shout out to my family and my friends who helped me to achieve this early in my YouTube career. So let's jump right into this go-kart and get it running.
Alright, so now we can move on to taking off the carburetor, and we got to remove the carburetor, this fan shroud, then we got to get the engine at top dead center, which we'll show you how to do that. Pretty simple. We're going to replace all these hoses. These carb hoses are all trash, all of them dry rotted. Fuel line's not bad, but it's stuck on there. I think that's it, yep. A little bit of a rat's nest. I'm going to keep that intake pipe, lay it down here. So this is why it failed. You can actually see light through this entire filter. These filters, if they get wet, they deteriorate. Do not use these. Use a uni style foam filter, and you can see the dirt build up inside this pipe. That's what blew this thing up. So when we reuse this, we're going to put a uni style foam filter on it. Get the spark plug wire off. All we have to do is get this at top dead center, then we can finish pulling the carburetor off, which I got now. So this has a plug on it. You see this plug where it's running to? That needs unplugged. Right here. Okay. So there's our old carb. This is trash, but we will keep the intake because I don't think we have one. Actually, I may have a new one, but we'll have to put a new O-ring in it. Alright, there's the exhaust. Pretty quick rebuild. One of the easiest overhead cam style engines to rebuild. Okay. So right here we have the cam chain tensioner. This basically is a spring loaded setup that keeps tension on the cam spring or cam chain. So we're going to have to loosen this, but first we need to make sure our cam is located in the right spot to keep it at top dead center. So you can do that a couple different ways. You can pull the spark plug, you can run a screwdriver in it until you feel the pistons at top dead center. But the easiest way is there's 2 tick marks on this cam, and you get them level with the head. Each side of the cam has a line. You can get them level with each side of the head, and when we do that, we know when we put it all back together, this cam, as long as we don't turn the differential any to turn this cam gear, we know it's correct. So what we're going to do is put this on jack stands on the rear so the back tire's off, so we can rotate the engine around. And actually, never mind, we can do it this way. There's the lines Right there. So that's where we're going to want to keep that to do this. So now what we can do is we can take out this 2/8. This is under spring tension. Well, the seal's got it locked in there. So we can pull these screws, bolts. Okay, need a real hammer. I'll go off here. So that's that keeps tension on the guides that push against the cam chain. We can use a 12 and pull these head nuts. You can see on screen I'm circling that tick mark, which is right there in that hole, which has a tick mark beside of it. You line that up with the side of the head when the valve springs have no, you can see they're both loose. So now we can take these bolts out here that hold the cam in. We can tilt it. Now the chain's loose. You can see chain's really loose. So now with that, this whole rocker assembly can actually rotate. This holds the rockers in. There we go. Our full rocker assembly's out. Then our cam can do like this. Get the chain off. Then there is our cam. You can buy performance cams for these and everything. Because the chain is, just don't let it fall down into the engine. That's your biggest thing. You know, keep it up. So now, with that off, we got some 8s on the side over here we can take out. Got those out of the side of the head. Oh shoot. There we go. There's the head. Tiny little combustion chamber. Tiny little piston on these hogs. Then we pull the head gasket off. So now, this is the jug. This is where your cylinder bore is. And this is what we're replacing with the piston. This is what got scarred.
There it is.
There she goes. And I did not rebuild this. Grab that chain on that side.
Got it.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that guide stayed with you.
Yeah, it's this guide we're going to replace in the new head. It sits just like that and runs down in there. Now you can let that chain hang low and let it wobble to the flow. So I don't know if the bore don't look awful, but it probably just ate up the rings, the dirt. This thing started smoking quite a bit. So we gotta get this paper off, this whole paper gasket. We have to replace this because this is just paper. This is just making a seal. The head gasket is on the jug to the head. That's what matters. But in here there's a wrist pin clip. Get a pair of picks underneath it. Okay, so now with that out, we can push the wrist pin out this way. Nope, it's not bad. The biggest thing, we're not trying to rotate the engine over.
It's crazy how little that little piston is.
Yeah. You remember the Zircon, how much fun we had on the old dirty Zircon, bless her heart? Here we go. So let's go look at the new parts. So with one of these rebuilds, we'll get the actual cylinder that we're replacing. Let's not. We got new piston rings, new jug gasket as well as head gasket, the new piston, we got the C-clips and the wrist pin. So all that's new, and it does come with the cam tensioner gasket. So that's nice. And then we have a brand new carb. This is pre-performance jetted, so it's ready for an open air filter. This comes with the T-line already on it, the vacuum line that we need. And we need to tie this into the intake manifold. We'll show you that in a minute. I'm gonna prep our piston first with our rings. With your piston rings, you have two thin ones. These are your oil scrapers. Then you have a first compression ring, and you have a second compression ring. Silver goes on top, black goes second. Then you have these three oil rings. This is the oil ring spacer. So this is going to go on first in the lowest hole. This is really simple to put in. Bam, it's in there. That what it allows the cylinder to keep oiled. Then you have your ring scraper. Start it under or over. You can do either one. You just need to do one over, one under. Don't get it in a bind. Pop it in. So that was on top of that oil spacer. Do the next one on the bottom side. So we start it in the bottom, rotate that hog around, bam, there's our oil spacers and scrapers. And then we have this one, any numbers or letters, can you see that? Any numbers or letters will face up. So this is the I guess you'd call this the second compression ring. It goes on first. There's a couple ways you can put these on. You can slip them around like this, or you can get a tool called a ring installer tool, where we take this. These are kind of hard to use as well. They need to be easy and not overstretch your ring. See, pops off sometimes. Try to keep from scratching your piston as you go down. There we go. So you can see that's in there. The first compression ring, look for any numbers. It says DAT on top. Those are going to go up. Now we separate our rings 120 degrees apart, so there's no gaps lining up in any of the rings. That's pretty good. We can use assembly lube on these and kind of squeeze in here, and then we can go install it right back. But we're going to scrape that gasket off first. So with this gasket, I use a high tack sealant. This is a red spray. It basically makes a glue for this. Do it over a trash can in a well ventilated area. But this really glues it on there. Extremely poisonous. Oh, could be, I don't know. I do this on both the head gasket as well as the this block gasket. So we're going to put this on first. I've already cleaned the head with brake cleaner, got all the gasket material off of it. So we slide that on there, do not rip it. Get the piston rod. This is kind of hard to do while he's having to film. Okay, now we can let our chain hang low and wobble to and fro. Now in our old head, first we're going to pull this out, throw that down there. We have these two dowels. Both of these dowels are on the chain side of the engine. You need to remove these and put them back on. I marred it up a little bit, but ain't no marring hurt anybody, and that'll center that gasket as well. So you should always try to get new dowels when you do this. So what we're going to do is start this piston in the jug. I had to look at my old videos on rebuilding one of these. I'm so silly. So we're going to use some Amsoil break-in oil, or assembly lube, I mean, and just put it like that all the way around. That's just going to make, for one, it'll hold your rings from rotating around if you set your gaps correctly, which we need to reset these to make sure our gaps are apart. That's just going to impregnate all that with some good high zinc assembly lube. So for the first startup, see, our ring gaps was really close right there. So we're going to rotate those around. The end goes on the same side, far as I know, as the intake. And what we're going to do is just start this in. It's tapered, so it'll start in. You don't need a ring compressor. That's how we're going to leave it right now. So then we're going to put one wrist pin in. I'm going to do the cam chain side. I'm going to go ahead and clip this in. And the reason I'm doing this is because we'll only have to push the pin in once we slide it onto the piston, and then clip in the opposite side, which is easier to get to. Bam, there we go. We got the wrist pin in. Can you see it good? So that's all in. We got our cylinder lubed. Well, kind of. But we need to leave this just enough in there to get a wrist pin. Now we can slide this hose. We have our dowels on. So how we got to do this is get the holes aligned. on all the studs. These are long studs, so it's easy sometimes to. What the H was that?
Another clip.
Oh, glad you saw that. Okay, we get this so far, then we can pick up. We can start this in the piston and get our rod up there.
It's attached to your rod, motherfucker.
There we go. Bam. Other clip. Bam. Now you need to make sure that it's clipped in to the groove all the way around. Once you make sure, we can slide this cam chain in here. What I always do is stick a pick through. Can you see this? I'm grabbing it with my pick, trying to drag it through without rotating it. There we go. So now it's going to have some tension on it because of the piston.
There it goes.
Line up everything. You're making 50 things line up. We can take this other guide, lift up, and slide that in there. Okay, now we have, we're looking at this, we have one of the dowels that are here. Got one of the dowels there, and we have another dowel right here that's still stuck in the head. What we're going to do is clean this surface really good and brake clean it, get it all good and clean, then we can slide it back on. Alright, so now we sprayed the metal head gasket with the gasket spray. Make sure to keep tension on our chain and run it through and just guide this over. One of our dowels are stuck in the head, so we're not going to worry about putting it in. We're just going to let it go with the head. So there we go. We'll get this one around. So there we go. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. So we're going to try to pull this dowel out. Oh yes. Yes, Queen Soleil. Goes on the top. So now take this spark plug, points towards the passenger side of the buggy. We're going to start it like so. And this is the biggest thing, is this chain. You do not want to drop it. I know we said it 50 times, but I'm not kidding. So we're going to keep it like that. Slide this hog on. Get it up on the dowels. There we go. And there we go. Okay, we slide these long hogs in. Then we're going to take our impact and just cinch them down as hard as we can. Just going to snug them. Just a wee bit. Remember, our cam was a big hole up. Do you remember?
Big hole wasn't showing, so it was in.
It was like this. You're positive.
Yes.
Okay, Lonnie's the guy. So we slide that down. This is kind of finicky part. Is that still on time?
Mm-mm.
Off time.
That's it.
And that is it. So now, with our dowel still in place, because they was left in the head, take our rockers. Look good?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, baby. Okay, so we actually had to flip the cam 180 degrees because we had this circle pointed down. So make sure you orientate your cam the correct way. Now we got a torque wrench set to 12 foot-pounds. I'm going to do a crisscross pattern, snug them lightly. Just keep working these two up until she clicks. You're going to do this as even as possible. You got to think you're sandwiching all this stuff. So it's going to take a minute to really squeeze it all in there. 12. Now, 12. 12 is not a lot. Like that is a very slim amount. That's what it calls for. I'm not a judge. Snug these up. That's just more of an oil seal. Normally I replace these cam tensioners. This one was fine, but it would be very smart to replace this. You can do this later, like with the engine put back together. It's not a big dealio. So this is going to slide down in there. You can see it tensions up that cam. Is the cam still in line? It might cock out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit off. Both holes are still showing though.
We start that one. What?
You pinched it.
Did?
There you go.
Evenly tighten this one. Okay, it's already had the pressure release. Okay. Now we need to adjust these valves at 4 thousandths for both of them. So I'll do that with a feeler gauge, just like a 212 Predator. You break the 10 millimeter jam nut and then use a set of adjustable wrenches on this little square head. Get it where after you tighten it, it's got a good drag to it. You don't have to force it out, but there also isn't slop in it. Okay, you can buy these tools linked in our video description. They come with 3 different heads, 3 different sizes. This has the square head that you need for the valve end. So what you do is, the 9 millimeter is what it is. You break open that jam nut with the wrench. You twist this knob to let the feeler gauge in there. We check it. Ooh, it's got a good drag to it. Is that too much? Nope. That's what we want to feel. That's a good fit. This one's a little mud to get to. And just get a lot of dirt in there too. There we go. Simple as that. We set these tools back in that drawer open, and then that feeler gauge you can lay with them. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, first off, I'm checking my lines. My lines are good. Whoo! It's got some compression. Okay. Alright, now we can dress it back out. We can put the clamshell cover back on it. Once you've made sure you've tightened everything, the clamshell cover basically helps the fan blow air across the fins of the head, keeps it cool. We have a top one here, dirtier than the dickens. Have this top one. You're going to want to put these on before you put your valve cover on, because the valve cover kind of sandwiches them. Like that. Okay, well, we don't have a gasket. So, So we're going to put a little RTV around this. We'll get this put on. We clamshell these 2 pieces, and they got Phillip head screws that clamp them all together, lock them in. Then we need to do a new O-ring on the header. The header does not have a paper or a material gasket. It's got a copper O-ring that crushes. So technically, every time you pull the exhaust off, you're supposed to change that out. Then we can slide our intake manifold on with a new gasket and just dress it back out. And then we can put a new battery, new fuel in it, and give it a fire. So we didn't have a gasket. It uses an O-ring. We don't have one, so we use some RTV. Some gray RTV. This will have plenty of time to cure because we don't have the keys to this hog. Now you're asking yourself, why don't you have the keys? Ask my mom. They took them away. Okay. So you can see here we have a copper gasket. Oh boy. Ow. Good not. So we can pop a new one in and just bolt the exhaust right on. So these are flat on one side, round on one. Round goes towards the exhaust, the flat goes in on the head. Oh, that is the right size. Thank you, Jesus. Come on, baby. Okay. So we got everything buttoned back up. We put that brand new carb on. We're using the same little intake snout. We do have to order an air filter, but we also have to order a battery to fit in there. But everything is buttoned back up, so we won't know if she runs till we grab the key from my mom. So, because that's who this went to. She has some foster kids, and they're waiting to ride this hog. So we're gonna slap the swing arm back on the back of the go-kart. Should be pretty quick. Everything just hooks right back up, and then next scene after that, we'll be starting this son of a gun. All right, she's rebuilt. Let's try to do a first start.
Several days later.
Oh shoot, she done. The school bus is alive once again. That rebuild.
Original paint job is still good.
Yeah, it's so we got this bed lined, and if you ever bed line something, make sure to prime it first, because bed line doesn't it looks like it's covered in places, but like the floor you can see the rust perpetrating through. Is that a word?
Years though.
Yeah, I mean this is 4 years old or 5.
What else has lasted this long?
Well, we stole the front end and the engine, believe it or not, off of Old Blue. Everything came off of that for this. So we've had Old Blue as long as this one. So that's pretty crazy. So Lonnie's gonna give her old test. Hoon snort. Believe it or not, this thing is super heavy. It's all 1/8 thick steel. Everything is. The floor.
The entire floor.
Yes, I did some dumb stuff back then, but this thing's a tank. It'll last a lifetime. I wish I'd have made the front end a little taller. That would have helped the aesthetics, but it doesn't look bad in my opinion. I'm super proud of what this looks like for the first thing I ever built out of metal, other than the roof rack that's on my old Ford truck.
And this was with just regular
Grinder.
tools.
Yeah, this is a grinder.
We were cutting 45s and everything.
We welded so much in that garage when I tore the wall out that separated the old garage. The ground wire was completely melted naked. We ran that whole garage off one breaker. Everything. Oh, okay, get her started up. I don't know if reverse works. These reverses are finicky. Okay.
Snort, baby.
Yeah, shoot. We heard something flip-flop, and I think it was a screwdriver.
Suspension works pretty good.
What was the noise?
I don't know. I was looking back to see what it was.
It's smoking a little bit, but it's probably burning off residual. I was wondering if I left the screwdriver sitting on this hog. Maybe that's what. Well, there's stuff burning off the exhaust, and but yeah, I'm pretty surprised at how good this thing works.
Died when I stopped too.
Yeah, it still needs to really get broke in. I mean, we're fresh on this mug.
Fresh.
So I think I had a screwdriver sitting on here, I believe.
It's gone.
Yeah, it fell off right in here. I'll look for it in a little bit, but yeah. All right, go ahead and give her.
Go through the woods.
Yeah, and I'll get in with you in a minute. Yeah, so the exhaust is burning off the old oil that was left in it. I'm gonna idle it up.
You might have to drive because I can fit back here. I don't think you'll be able to.
How dare you? You know I've been working out.
Facts.
You know I have been working out.
We definitely can't both fit in the front.
Oh boy.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Well, my leg's on the outside, so be careful.
Here we go. Here we go.
I do not recommend this at all. Hey, it runs right. I'm very impressed with this thing. Oh, Lord, that hurts. Yeah, the suspension feels great on this thing. Yeah, we knew I wasn't easy. Just barely sliding. Turn right. This thing runs great, dude.
Right here, if this was like a 45 up to where it's out of your knee, it'd be pretty comfortable.
That when I built it, as soon as I got done, I know I was like, that needs to be angled up. So, and it wouldn't be nothing to cut it. Since it's bed liner, it's nothing. Well, this is a custom tinted bed liner. It's tinted just charcoal gray, but I could still do it in black and you wouldn't even notice it. I'm really impressed with it.
Pretty good turn angle too.
For the weight that it's pulling, then adding our weight,
Yeah.
that is crazy.
Pretty
this
impressive.
thing. You know, I was talking about putting a 212 on it,
Oh.
but I wouldn't. There's no way. If this engine ever blows up again, I have to rebuild it again. Maybe drop a
Quick
cam
and
in
easy.
it.
Took
Oh,
us no time.
4 hours completely to get this thing revived. So this thing is a freaking win. The exhaust has a bunch of oil in it where it smokes so much. It's just packed in there. I'd like to put an exhaust on it, but I kind of like how quiet it is too.
Yeah, that is nice. After being on loud stuff, it
Yeah.
sounds good, but you get sick of it too.
Yeah. This is a freaking win. I'm happy this thing is done again. Thank you guys so much for checking out today's video on the revival of the 4-seater go-kart. For those that's been around, this is a 7-year-old project. We started it 7 years ago, and it's amazing that I even took something like that on. I had never built anything other than a roof rack on my truck out of metal. I had never messed with a grinder before this, and I had never welded. So I taught myself how to weld and, you know, kind of fabricate building a roof rack for my old Ford. And then I was like, I want to build a 4-seater go-kart. I don't know why I jumped on such an ambitious project for my very first project, but you can see it worked out awesome. The thing runs so great, and I'm really impressed with my own work. Not to toot my own horn, I'm just saying, looking back at where I started, I'm very pleased with how this project is. I like it so much that I told my mom, and that's who has the foster kids, which they're getting older now, of course. That was 7 years ago, but they're still completely able to ride it. If they ever outgrow it, I want it back, and to be able to give it to somebody else and just keep it going, because this thing will last a lifetime. Everything is 1/8 inch thick. Did it have to be? No. I could have lightened this thing tremendously and made it perform even better, but I'm super pleased. I'm a big boy. Lonnie's really light, but it's basically like 3 Lonnies are in that go-kart, and he's pulling it. It pulls it 100% fine. We even pulled a little steep hill back up to my driveway. Super impressed with it. So the whole moral of this video is believe in yourself and surround yourself around other people that believe in you. My wife, my friends, they all believed that we could accomplish this, and they encouraged me on the way, and family members did. And look what we built this YouTube channel into. A lot of that goes to God, honestly. God changed my life, and that's why I started a YouTube channel, is because I got away from drugs and alcohol, and I needed something to take up that time, and YouTube was my thing to take up that time. And God blessed the channel. He blessed our growth, and look where we're at now. Look at the shop we have now, all the blessings that came with it. And I don't deserve any of it, that's for sure, but I'm super appreciative of it. And thank you guys so much for watching and staying tuned. I know there's times where projects take forever. My ADHD, I'm jumping all around, you know, I'm going from project to project, but I really appreciate the people that have stuck with me and watched us from the beginning and supported us, and the people that go on RBG Karts and buy our parts and stuff that we're hand making here in the shop. All that it does not go unnoticed. We're really thankful for it. And again, believe in yourself. Try to do something. If you don't think you can accomplish it, this go-kart is a perfect testament to that. I'm telling you guys, I had never welded before. Basically, this project was what I taught myself to weld, taught myself to use a grinder, taught myself to fabricate. I took a piece of graphing paper and I drew out the go-kart and what I wanted it to look like, and then I kind of went off the top of my head for the rest of it, and I'm super pleased with it. I'm so proud of what we was able to build and accomplish. And don't mean to ramble here at the end of the video, but seeing this thing, you know, after so many years brings back so many memories. Videos used to be completely different, how we used to make them back in the day, to now. Now we know how to fabricate a lot of stuff, so we take it for granted, I feel like. Back then, we was learning. You guys was teaching us stuff by commenting things we should be doing differently, and we listened to those and we applied them. And again, look where God has brought us, and where our hard work has brought us, and your support has brought us. So we really appreciate everything that you guys have done for us and allowing us to do this. We got a lot of awesome stuff in the works right now, as always, and we hope you continue to support us throughout the years as long as God allows us to be on this platform. So thank you guys so much for watching, supporting us, and as always, we love you, and God bless.